What did your school waste money on that nobody liked? Part 1. They made a huge screen with 4 huge plasma screens and put it in a very random place in a very random building hall. No signal, no signal, no signal, no signal. School spendings in a nutshell. Pay high price and shiny technology. Abundantly congratulate yourself about being a modern and advanced school. Don't use it because complicated and staff is not trained. Nothing changes. Teachers still use old or own equipment. Repeat the next year. A clock tower with no clock. So, a tower? Name tags. Shortly after Columbine and all those other shootings peaked in frequency. It was supposed to keep outsiders from getting in the school unnoticed and shooting everyone, but at the time, people doing the shootings were always students. So we joke they were bulletproof. Why not just school IDs? Why name tags? My school had IDs, but we had to wear them on a lanyard so that everyone could see them. Maybe this is what they meant by name tag. Some of my classmates won a bunch of money for our school. Our school was one of the lowest funded schools in the district. The district took the money and spent it on another school. Reminds me when I was a sophomore, my school was next in line to get renovations and upgrades. Only half classes even had air conditioning. Instead, the district built a new school that took half of my graduating class. They also took teachers, so my classes were still overcrowded. New TVs in the cafeteria that just show the morning announcements. They just need to send out announcements in an email. That's the thing, they already do that. iPads for the kindergarten. They were intended to have educational apps on them that kids could play on at indoor recess. Believe it or not, most kindergarteners would rather play on the swings or play with dolls than learn to write their name on an app. No one used them, no one liked them, and they all broke within 2 months. My indoor recess at that age was the whole group using these big puzzle piece foam blocks to build castles and then crawl all over them. We would not have cared about the iPad either. Trash cans with a school logo on them and banners. They tried hyping us up about new trash cans on the morning show. At my school, they took away some of the tables in the cafeteria until we kept it cleaner. We just sat on the floor instead. Was on boys' varsity soccer team in high school. New head coach, wanted to emphasize more analytical approach, and as such, had Booster Club pay a $10,000 goalpost camera. None of the team liked the idea anyway, especially since the girls' soccer team used their money for new jerseys and nicer balls, and they still made it further in their playoffs than we did almost every year. As it turns out, the coach couldn't figure out how to put the camera together, and we never used it. Biggest waste of $10,000 I've ever seen. $10,000 goalpost camera? How much of that was a kickback to your coach? Because for a tenth of that, I can buy a GoPro and have a custom-made cage to protect it. When 65-inch TVs were like 4K a pop, they set about 8 of them around campus that just displayed the time. $4,000 clocks. Not to mention whatever they used as a video source to send to the display. Not that 4K is a good deal, but you would be shocked at how much even a 16-inch clock that syncs with the internet or atomic radio. Cheap ones exist, but you basically have to take them outside and point them at Colorado to sync. Costs. The price goes up like crazy if you want digits more than an inch or 2 high, and even more if you want an analog one. My high school purchased a vending machine that only contained Swerve. What is Swerve, you ask? Carbonated milk. LOL, I just looked it up on Wiki. It gained the AHA Heart Healthy seal by being 51% actual dairy. 51% is the bare minimum required to gain the seal. Also, an 11-oz can had 160 calories, whereas a 12-oz can of Coca-Cola contains 140. Wild. My college bought a small restaurant out for $1 million to build $1 million brick gate that doesn't close. Mine bought out a shopping center, built a dorm with restaurants no one eats at, and now won't let anyone use it. A 3D printer that the teachers won't learn how to use, so now nobody is allowed to use it. My school got 4 of those, and the teacher responsible for them actually encouraged us to take the SolidWorks course to learn about 3D design. It was actually a lot of fun, and I still have some of the objects I created. A memorial tree was planted for a girl who was killed right before graduation by her family and friends. The school allowed it, and there was a beautiful Japanese maple tree there for like 10 years. Apparently, they just cut it down and had no reason why. Family is pissed, alumni are pissed. The college I work at put a bench in the memory of a girl who was raped and killed 200 meters in the woods behind the building. Guess who sits on a bench dedicated to a murdered girl? Exactly, no one. It's also in a prime spot, and now they can't move it or they'd look bad. They should have put a tree like you normally do instead. And then her body was thrown around and set on fire by 4 dumb students who stumbled on it, ruining chances the police could find clues on who killed her. My son's current school sent out an email to parents announcing that they'd like to add voice projection to every class. He's in 1st grade and there are 20 kids in his class. Totally unnecessary. They had a demo session and it sounded horrible. My high school got these midway through my junior year, and they sucked. The range wasn't great, and the receiver in one classroom would pick up the microphone in another, and the battery life was awful, so the teachers rarely used it. The best thing that they were used for was the one time that my teacher noticed a kid in the room across the hall was asleep in class. They were watching a video and the other teacher had stepped out of the room for a moment and walked over to the door so that the other room's receiver would pick up his mic and said, "Wake up," and then closed his door. When I was still a student, my school spent almost $200K to paint the roads outside our school. You read that right. Almost $200,000 of our precious tuition dollars to paint the roads outside blue and yellow. To pour salt on this painful wound, the paint job didn't even make it through winter. So, just to reiterate, $200,000 for 3 months of painted road. I think I'm still angry about it. That's gotta be the dumbest one I've read in here. A lot of them are dumb in that money was spent on technology or other things that wouldn't be used, but those at least keep some value after being bought. This is just throwing money away. My high school wasted a ton of money buying 2 golf carts. Their reasoning was it allowed staff to get to any dangerous scenes faster. Except we never had any accidents, and they were mostly used for joyrides by the hall monitors. This seems like a bad idea regardless. Driving golf carts indoors in a school sounds dangerous. I imagine that it was a school with multiple buildings and outdoor space, but it's funny to imagine them inside tiny hallways. Our new Slick Willy superintendent insisted on buying an educational product for $500,000 that consisted of software that nobody wanted or could use. It was from his girlfriend. Slick Willy went to jail. One of the schools in our district paid an astronomical fee to an artist to create an artwork for the hall of the school. Paid for the dude's room and board for like a year, and he produced a large polished piece of wood. No, literally, that's it. It was supposed to be shaped like a heart, but looks more like a butt, and is now known as the Bart. Our university did a similar thing. The art they had designed was called the Red Trench. As soon as they hung it, someone said, "Isn't that a giant vagina?" At first, the administration defended it, but every time they stated what it really represented, they had a different story. That lasted a few years while it was prominently displayed for the public. Eventually, it was taken down and put into storage. I think they took it back out and displayed it again, but in a little-used location. My school just spent tens of millions of dollars on a remodel that includes a new commons and front office area, which were not needed, but no new classrooms, which were desperately needed. The old commons was warm, inviting, bright, and beautiful. It wasn't old. The new commons is dark, cold, sterile, and uninviting. The exterior was changed too. The entire front of the school used to be attractive. Now it looks like a prison. I think maybe the architect presented the design as a joke, and our principal liked it, so the architect just rolled with it. My school literally used a prison draft for our school. With guard towers, they just put windows in. The design for the prison was to have many sections that would circle a main yard. They cut out welding, machine shop, wood shop, and graphic design to buy a $1 million scoreboard for football. A scoreboard? Seriously? And I thought my school making an entire sports hall only for football teams was stupid. Our mascot was a rocket, and a certain percentage of school construction money had to be spent on art. They spent $90K commissioning a giant rocket sculpture for the main field entrance. When it was unveiled, the artist had made one tiny change to the design. Instead of a pointy rocket tip, he had gone with a rounded, mushroom tip. I mean, we thought it was hilarious, especially when they cut off the tip as their solution to the problem, but nobody liked it. Same thing happened at my school. They had a new basketball floor made with a tiger mascot face at center court with an extended tongue that looked like a penis. They decided all of the glue sticks had to be purple. With the purple ones, it's easier to see where you have applied the glue. It dries clear, so there is no difference in the finished product. I'm a teacher. My first year, the school leader bought a ping pong table for the lounge in an attempt to make school more fun and relaxing. It simply became a surface to put copies on. It sounds like they had good intent, it just didn't work out. And at least those tables aren't too expensive, so it wasn't a crazy amount.